Good afternoon, and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I am Razzle11, and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. Going to take a look at some pitching for today, the 31st of August. It is Saturday. We do have a 10-game main slate ahead of us this evening. Could be some slight weather issues, but I haven't seen any updated forecasts, so we will just dig in with pitching as it is. Reminder, I am looking at DraftKings as that is where a majority of my action is. If you're on FanDuel, I would cut my pool into about a half or even a third, since pricing isn't quite as tight and the scoring system is a bit different. So we will just jump right in. Zach Wheeler at the top. Pair him and Reagans together here at the top. Um, some tougher matchups on the surface, but I think both guys are in spots to be pretty impressive. Wheeler at home has been dominant. He's dominated this Atlanta squad, allowing just 2 runs in 12 innings this season. Coming off of an average performance, he did start against Atlanta just 2 starts ago. His K prop sitting at 7.5 with juice on the under. The 7.5 K prop is the highest on the slate, and he is a minus 170 favorite, which seems pretty strong. Reagan's paired in with him. Like I mentioned, a little tougher matchup. Houston, not a huge strikeout team. Reagan's kind of dealt with some walks recently. Uh, Being on the road in Houston, it's a little tougher. He did struggle against Houston earlier this year, even though his numbers have been better on the road. His strikeout numbers do take a hit. Obviously, they're still not terrible, just over a K per inning win on the road. Houston is a minus 142 favorite, so projected to be a little closer than the Philadelphia Atlanta matchup. Reagan's K prop at 6.5 with juice on the under. I think both guys are certainly viable. I do like Wheeler slightly more for upside, but uh, Reagan's has obviously shown us some big time ability this season. Both guys will probably be lower owned than Brian Wu is on this slate. Wu's K prop at 6.5 with juice on the under, sitting as a minus 162 road favorite. Hasn't been super sharp against the Angels this year, just 3 strikeouts in 9 1/3. Uh, Overall, not a huge K guy. Allows a few more home runs on the road, more hits, but he does have the ability to get us, 6 or 7 strikeouts. Kind of a K per inning type return. The matchup itself is just better than the top two guys, so that's kind of why I expect him to be pretty popular. Kikuchi overall has thrown the ball pretty well with Houston, coming off of a not so great start from a fantasy standpoint, but still, it's been pretty steady. Decent against Kansas City the first time he faced them. I believe that was with Toronto, though. Yeah, it would be with Toronto. Um, his K prop also is sitting at 6.5 with juice slightly on the under. Very similar K prop to Reagan's. They're actually expecting probably a half more Ks for Kikuchi than Reagan's at this point. And like we mentioned, Kikuchi is the favorite in this matchup. Kansas City's lineup took a hit with Pasquantino being lost for the season. Obviously, that was a left-on-left situation, so maybe it's not a huge loss in this spot, but um, it certainly could derail their mindset a little bit as they were charging for the AL Central lead just a couple days ago. So I think Kikuchi's fine, but I think he falls behind the three above him uh, because if we get upside from Reagans or Wheeler, I'm just not sure that Kikuchi's going to match that. Kansas City generally does not strike out a whole lot, at least in comparison to the rest of baseball. Max Fried, coming off a pretty strong start against the Twins, hadn't been overly sharp in his return. Has made 3 starts against the Phillies, um, none of which have gone very well for him. His K prop's 5.5, which is pretty strongly on the over, so that part is intriguing. The fact that he's a pretty sizable underdog with Philly being a minus 170, um, does have me concerned a little bit. He has been at his best when on the road, though, which is where he's at this evening. Uh, so right now, I think I'm going to end up leaving him out, but he's kind of on the borderline. And we'll kind of see as I dig in more uh, before building out my player pool. Um, but I would plan on him being outside of my 8 or so man pitcher pool on DraftKings. Cody Bradford, somebody that I've actually been pretty impressed with. I am going to use him for sure. He shut down Oakland the first time he faced them. He's been really strong at home. I will be stacking the Oakland side as well in some builds just because Oakland's been hitting home runs again. Home runs are great for fantasy purposes, but they do also strike out. So Bradford's a minus 170 favorite right now. K prop of 5.5 with juice on the over. I think he's pretty solid. Um, but again, playing both sides of this matchup just because we know that Oakland has the capability of hitting, 3 or 4 home runs on the slate. And for those that are members, you realize that Oakland was my number one stack yet last night. Um, so I would definitely like to go back to Oakland some, but I have been impressed with Bradford, so I do want to utilize him. Merrill Kelly has not been overly sharp, so I'm just not going there. And I haven't looked at his history against the Dodgers, but I feel like the Dodgers have hit him before, but maybe I'm thinking of a different Arizona pitcher. Gavin Stone, coming off of 3 really strong starts in a row. Very interesting. He's been lit up by Arizona this year in 2 starts. I think he's going to end up on the outside looking in as well. Might even be one slot behind Max Fried at this point, but um, obviously Gavin Stone's been throwing the ball pretty well. So that's always something that I like to think about. Recent trends are always important for pitchers. Both pitchers in this game have K props of 4.5. Merrill Kelly's juiced slightly on the over. Stone's is juiced slightly to the under. Gavin Stone is a minus 142 favorite, but we do see a game total of 9.5, which probably makes it easy to fade both pitchers. Tyler Anderson, decent numbers against Seattle this season. Numbers on home are not quite as strong. Hasn't had some good starts. His last 5 starts have been pretty bad. The only reason I am considering him is because of the K upside against Seattle. He is an underdog, but his K prop sitting at 5.5, which feels like a strong K prop for a guy like Anderson. So that is why I am considering him, kind of in that pool to be like the last man in. I'm just not sure I'm going to get there. Jose Barrios taking on his former Twin squad. The night and day difference in his home road splits. 20 home runs allowed in 81 road innings this season. That's a lot. Been pretty decent of late. 24 plus fantasy points in 5 out of his last 6 starts. K prop of 4.5 juices on the over. He is a slight dog in a game total of 9. I have a feeling I'm going to end up passing on him, but the whole revenge narrative thing going back into Minnesota always plays a role in my mind a little bit, but I just don't like the way that he's looked on the road this season. And Minnesota does have some left-handed batters that have plenty of power, um, so I think I'm going to be on Minnesota a lot more in that matchup. Montas taking on his former squad um, in Cincinnati. Can have some solid starts, but I think I'm just going to pass. Um, it's a tough one for me to pass on because we know that Cincinnati can struggle quite a bit at times. He is a minus 125 favorite. K prop of 5.5 juices on the under. Game total of 9 right now with juice on the over. So I would not be shocked to see that move to 9.5. So I think for that's probably a good reason to just stay away from pitching in that game. Sammy Matthews has been really impressive pitching at home. Strikeouts have been there. I think he's all right to go with here. A rough second start where errors were involved. Uh, no strikeouts against a San Diego team that just do not strike out very much. I did mention, the Twins are minus 142 favorites. His K prop's a 4.5 with juice on the under. That does seem a little low for a guy that's a K pitcher, or at least throughout the minors has come up as a K pitcher. Uh, but I am interested a little bit in Zebby Matthews just because the bottom half of the Toronto lineup is full of a lot of guys that are getting their first real taste of major league action. Those guys can struggle at times. So, um, kind of as we look down, Quintana, somebody that's going to get a lot of discussion. Problem is like there's just the K upside just really isn't there. Um, so does he have the upside we need? Probably does. He did it against the Cubs here. Did it against the Padres, who are a tough team to get strikeouts against, etc. Uh, so I think Quintana is going to be a fairly chalky SP2 on the slate just based on his matchup. K prop of 4.5. Juice is ever so slightly on the under, but he has a minus 192 road favorite. I think that's going to draw in his ownership a bit. Edward Cabrera is somebody that I want to use because he has plenty of upside, but he's super volatile. A ton of walks, a lot of base runners, but when things come together and he racks up strikeouts, the upside's there. Now, he dominated the San Francisco squad earlier, a lot of strikeouts. His overall road numbers have been terrible, but this is a ballpark that, as you know, we target pitching in quite a bit. For that reason, I think I'm going to utilize him. Game total on this one's just 7.5. Uh, his K prop 6.5, juice on the under. But I just think he has a ton of upside in this spot. He's shown it to us before in this matchup, so I want to go there again. Mason Black on the other side, probably not going to get there. Hasn't looked very sharp. So even though he's favored, I just think that Cabrera offers us far more upside. Um, and as you know, my pitcher pool is based purely on getting us to that upside. And I think he has a shot to get us the raw points to make it into our top two pitchers. So, but there we have it. There's that first look at pitching. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to join us and get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, Discord, etc., I will put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's RAZ, for 10% off monthly. And as always, best of luck, everybody.